Welcome, everyone, to What's in Store with Carly and Chris, the show where we cover hot topics at the cross section of retail and real estate. I'm Carly Iacono, and I'm joined by my co host, Chris Ressa. Chris, happy summer. How are you? How's everything?
Everything's going great. How about you?
Good, good. Glad to hear it. Yes, we are still in the office doing deals, so no complaints. Everything's good.
Awesome.
Today's show is about specialty retailers that I was surprised are expanding. And this all was started because I read an article about Batteries Plus opening a significant number of new stores in 2025. I think it was upwards of 50. And that headline just caught me like batteries of all things. This is a complete commodity item to me. It's small, it's light, it's easy to ship. You can find that by a type of battery or a number online in 2 seconds. How are they so successful with bricks and mortar, and why do they need more stores? And that made me pause, being a retail real estate professional who strongly believes in bricks and mortar. And I thought, wow, what other items do I feel this way about and why? And what am I missing that is making Batteries Plus so successful in stores? So that is the groundwork for how we got to today's episode. And we're going to unpack not just Batteries Plus, but a list of companies that have really specialty items that you can find online and kind of tie that to how and why they are still focusing on bricks and mortar. So before we go any further, were you at all surprised by Batteries Plus, or is that just makes total sense to you?
I was not surprised.
There you go. And that's what makes a good episode. So it's straightforward to Chris. Okay, so tell me why you were not surprised.
So I think generally speaking, today there's a significant amount of items that are less expensive in a store than online. And I think that gap is going to widen over time. It's hard for a person to order 4, return 3, pay no shipping, pay no returns, and the retailer still make money. So the store makes a lot of sense for them to drive traffic to the store. And you're going to have the people who are willing to pay more and more for convenience, to pay more and more to have things show up at the door. But generally speaking, there's majority of Americans don't want to do that. They love value and they are going to go to the store. It's why we still have 80% of all retail sales in a store. It's one of the key drivers. And even for people who have the means, right? If you look at just take grocery, for example, obviously online has grown, but if you've ever had something delivered to a grocery delivered to your house, it is more expensive than if you were to go to the store and buy those same items. And I think that especially in inflationary times and times when people's wallets are pinched, you're going to find more and more people going to the store especially when the items are less expensive in the store. I think number 2.
Hold on, hold on. You can't go through all the numbers and all the
Okay.
facts in one swoop here.
Okay.
So pricing differential, I completely agree with. I think in grocery, that makes all the sense in the world. I've seen it firsthand and started going back to the store for that exact reason because it was such a big differential. Things like batteries, I think if it's in your route and you can pick up the standard batteries, fine, great. But I think once I gave this more thought, really part of the driver here was a different story for this particular example. And it likely has more to do with specialty, finding the right battery, or maybe the service element of changing a cell phone battery that we don't do ourselves. So having an element that this is not something we're going to do regularly. I can buy the battery and have someone put it in, make sure it's the right one because it's a bit more technical, and then go on my way. So I think if it's perhaps not as commoditized as I first thought with our basic types of batteries, and there's more to that story. So it could be cost. I'm sure there's a piece of that, but I think it's more than just that. It's the service element and the making sure that you get the right one on the first pass, because nobody wants to order 5 types of batteries and have none of them fit right either. So I think that is another element in addition to the price.
I think prices. I think that's certainly a price. I would say though, like the car batteries are very heavy. It's not
Right.
inexpensive to ship, and therefore that's going to drive price for batteries. I think there's a lot of discovery with specialty retailers that drives foot traffic. And then I think, one of the things we've talked about a lot is the closest real estate to the consumer is retail real estate. And using stores in some fulfillment distribution capacity in some way, shape, or form, as Ulta does, as Target does, is super efficient.
True, true. Very good for the retailer, as we've seen over and over. And that just continues to be the case in terms of profitability and expense reduction. Using the store is a much lower cost of consumer acquisition. I know we've talked about that for years now, and it continues to be true. What do you think about stores like Verizon, cell phone stores? Obviously, light items, easy to ship, easy to get the information on the newest models online, but they are still expanding as well. Um, and I know there's a group of the population that likes to go look at each model and talk to the employees. Do you think that is just an education, sort of customer experience angle there? Why are most customers going to, not most, why are a lot of customers choosing to continue to buy cell phones in store? I don't think there's a huge price differential in that case. I could be wrong, but I think it's the same pricing.
I have a lot of thoughts here. I think one, if I took your phone away today and I said you can get a phone on Saturday from your insurance company, maybe Monday, or you could have a phone tomorrow, but you have to drive, and you could have a phone today, but you have to drive an hour. What are you doing?
Driving today, of course.
There you
Yes.
go. So that I
Unless
think
if they forget it, I'm tired of having my phone anyway. No, that's just in a dream. I would definitely be driving immediately in
I,
panic mode.
in
Mhm.
panic mode. I think
I
that's
yeah, would
most
have to.
people.
Yes. That's the
I,
truth.
I think that's most people. Number one.
Yep.
Number two. Uh, Many people when they set up a phone, they're setting up a plan, and it's
Mm,
very if it's very easy on the experience to do that with a person right there, right? To have them work with the plan, go through the options on the data and the different types of data and do everything, right? I think the at the end of the day, right, that's the biggest driver is getting people on plan, and the actual physical product is, just a means to an end to get them on the monthly subscription, right? Yeah. Cell phone companies were on the SaaS plan before SaaS was a thing, right? Monthly subscription,
right.
pay the cell phone bill every
Yeah.
month. Um, and they can go over the financing options with you. And I think that's the other piece is the experience of like if you're getting a new plan, I think that
Right.
um, is helpful. I don't know about you, but some companies, if you call like if you see a TV commercial and the TV commercial talks about this new plan that they have, and then you look at your plan, you're like, hey, I'm playing more, whether it's your television subscription or whatever it might be. What do? You like call the customer service. And a lot of times it's not easy to get customer service on the phone and
Right.
get your plan down. Like it's a lot easier of a process to go to the store, meet with a professional, talk to them about the plan, and go through that process. Um, you know, I'm often when I think of like this, I think of the 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 banks of the world, and they're continuing to
Mhm.
grow and expand, even though you can digitally bank pretty frequently. And if you just look at like one of the top performers in retail per square foot is Apple. They're one of the top performers per square foot is Apple.
And those
In
stores are always slammed every time you
always
see them.
slammed.
Hmm.
always slammed. This is one of the most technology forward companies in world history, and their
It's true.
physical retail is a huge driver of consumer interaction, sales of their products.
I think that that case is a little different though, because they have new products coming out so frequently that there's a trial and experience element there where I wonder how many people go to the store and try the products, think about it, and then ultimately order online. I mean, it's still a win for Apple, right? Because they're still purchasing the product. But I think there's this element of testing the new technologies that they capture in their stores. So it's not just going to pick up XYZ item.
I don't know. They still are like super high performing. They're like most people say they're the highest performing per square foot in
So the
retail. Like,
sales are happening there then. Okay.
yeah, that's my
Because they
point,
wouldn't be
right? Like,
attributing it otherwise.
right, the sales are happening. Some say they're the highest per square foot sales retailer in the world. So, um,
That's crazy, actually. You
yeah,
think
I
about
mean,
it, it's a win. Light,
a,
easy to ship. You know what you're getting more or less. If you
a
already have
lot
an
of
iPhone, right? Just
a
get the
lot
next one.
of yeah, I think a lot of retailers too. Like, even they do so well. Like, they inflate the sales per square foot at malls. Oftentimes, retailers are like, "What does the mall do? X Apple."
Yeah.
Because they inflate the sales so much.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know,
Okay, so
I'll
cell phones, we have an angle, right? Verizon, Apple, different companies, same
yeah,
concept somewhat. There's a human touch educational element, try the products, explain the pros, the cons. There's probably a repair and a element there too with service in both cases. So there's more to the store than just getting your latest upgraded phone. And an immediate need, which you illustrated very clearly. An immediate need. If you are missing a product and you need one right away, you can go pick it up.
yeah.
All
And
justified.
even if you didn't lose the product, right? If it's time for a new cell phone, right? If it's time for a new cell phone, are I personally like when I decide I don't want to wait.
Yeah.
I go and get it that day. It's like I'm time for an upgrade. And one of the things with the when we talked about like the plan information and all that stuff, right? Is they make that stuff super easy in store and it's not as easy online with your plan and whatnot. Like, you know, it's just, to me,
Right. Much more complicated.
yeah. Like, especially as people are doing things, right? With where we're now going to get my child a cell phone. I want to add them to my plan. What are the insurance options? What do I
Hmm.
do with that? Like, I, I hope I'm not anywhere near getting my kids a cell phone, but when I do, I'm probably going to go to the store.
True. All valid.
Yeah.
What do you think about companies that don't have this technological element, that don't have, a complexity to them, like sunglasses? Sunglass Hut is another one that's expanding their physical retail. Warby Parker, we've talked about for years now, digital to physical retail. There's a try on and a fashion element to it, which I think drives those in particular, because often you'll go in and try on, 30 pairs of sunglasses. Do you think when AI improves and you can do virtual try on, that's a little clearer? It's getting better, but will that be the way we buy glasses? Or do you think there's going to continue to be an emphasis on physical retail for things like glasses and fashion?
I think generally speaking, my position is that the largest share of retail sales in America will be done at stores for the foreseeable future. Number one. Number two, I think the price gap between online purchases and in store purchases is going to widen, not compress. And I think in general, the, I think that one, right, to me, is one of those that discovery is a lot easier in person. So if every time I walk into a sunglass store, there's like 8,000 new types of sunglasses that I never knew of. And
Right.
discovering that digitally is super challenging for me.
Hmm.
And maybe I'm a druid, but I think it's super challenging for me. And I think that the store makes it a lot easier.
It's true. It's true because there is that discovery element. So it sounds like what's driving this is different for each retailer, but it's got to be either a cost savings because the online prices are so much more, a difficulty in transporting the product, like we didn't even cover this yet, but furniture, very heavy items, or a discovery element where it's just very difficult to find a new product that you like online because there's so many choices. You need to touch and feel it and see it, which I think speaks well to fashion. And I guess kind of in the discovery line, we could also go into beauty. Sephora, Ulta, again, these are light products. They're easy to ship. You can kind of go down the brand or line that you like and get them, but yet every Sephora that I have seen in recent times is absolutely jam packed, mostly with kids under 16. But there is so much activity, so much purchasing happening that discovery is a huge part of the business. So you think that is going to continue to be what drives consumer behavior, not just the repeat purchasing of the same items.
I think generally speaking, this I think I what I think is going to I think price will be a driver that
Yeah,
supersedes all,
everything.
because
Yep.
I think the gap is going to widen. I think for retailers, revenue is going to be more in store, and the additionally, not only is the profit's going to be better and the cost cheaper for the consumer. It's going to be like this overall win 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 win. And online is going to be for these, the people who can are prepared to spend more to not go to the store, which I think there's some who just can't do that. And then I think there's a lot that don't want to, even if they have the means.
Hmm.
Uh, I think there's other reasons, like retailers want a store in a market, right? When they open a store in a market, typically their online sales in that market grow. So there's this omni-channel significance to it. Typically, when they close a store in a market, their online sales in that market decrease. So that's the marketing slash consumer acquisition cost. We're not at a point, like retailers majority of the time want a four wall positive EBITDA on a store. But
Right.
generally speaking, I believe the store is way more valuable today than a pre COVID era. Right. And so that's why you're seeing, generally speaking, uh, this unbelievable store expansion for even ones that you think wouldn't be, because I think the store is just way more valuable. We haven't even touched on connecting with the consumer, the experience, long term, the long term benefits of doing that with your customers. And so, all that said, I think the store is way more valuable than it's ever been.
And that's the bank branch story right there in my mind. It's the relationship with the consumer that they get with a physical store when you go in instead of online. You just cannot capture that loyalty online only. And I think they're realizing that. So that makes perfect sense for that example in particular.
Sure.
What about the other categories? And I think I already know the answer, but Home Depot, furniture retailers, things that maybe are commodity products, you know, outdoor furniture, sheetrock, basic things that, it's kind of similar to what you're going to see online. It's pretty easy to wrap your arms around what it is that you're buying if it's, one specific item like that. Do you think that is just a cost story, that it's going to be so much more expensive online that consumers will continue going to stores because of the cost of delivery that will be baked into the goods? Or do you think there's still just a convenience factor more so where you decide you need sheetrock, you're going to go get it, or you decide you want to, two very different examples, by the way, but you decide you want outdoor furniture and you're going to go pick it out with the family and, you want it this weekend. What do you
I
think is
think
driving those
I
kind
think
of
they're both
retailers?
they're they're getting they're meeting in the middle, those two
Hmm.
stories. I think one, we're already here where it oftentimes costs more to buy the furniture online because of shipping.
Right.
Um, and there's still a lot of furniture stores where like you can negotiate deals,
Yes. I always
right?
really enjoy that side note. Yes.
Right? You can like you can negotiate a deal where you can't do that online. I think people like the ability to do that. You walk into a mattress store and you're like cutting a deal with them to buy the mattress. Um,
Exactly.
I'll never forget the first mattress I got when I graduated college. My dad took me to like 8 mattress stores, and we were negotiating like every single one. And
So funny.
you know
Yep.
what I mean? And so you
Yeah.
still have the ability to like whittle down price. I think people like that. I think in general, right? So the price is already in general, you have this shipping element that, and depending on where it's coming from, that plays a huge part in that shipping element. But I think the other piece is these retailers, you take like a Home Depot or Lowe's, and how convenient they've made the in-store experience, right? Like you can look online and see what aisle, what shelf it's
Right.
in for those stores, and that makes it super interesting. They also, a lot of the products in a lot of those stores, while they might be commoditized, I'm often buying things at like a Home Depot that I don't know a lot about.
Right.
And like I could
Yeah, like
watch as many
specialty items.
YouTube videos as I want. I want to go talk to someone. I go and I look, and then when I'm there, I'm looking at the other models and, oh, why did that YouTuber recommend this one over this one? And I don't leave and buy it online. I want it right there. Like I just got a Traeger grill, and there's been a million little things that you could do with it and get with it and all this stuff. And to me, that is what's great about some of those stores.
So that's a perfect example. I'm sure you price shopped your Traeger grill. Was it less expensive in the store than online? Shipping is a different thing, right? Shipping cost weighs into it, but is the base price of the item actually cheaper in the store? Are they doing a
I
dual
think it's a
pricing model?
I think it's a little bit of a different example. I honestly I don't know off the top of my head. It's a different example because you have like this direct to consumer brand
Okay.
versus like a traditional wholesale retail model. So I think generally speaking, the if we're talking about like the wholesale retail model, like Honey Nut Cheerios, right? I think that, right, because there's no Honey Nut Cheerio store. I don't think I
Right.
can go to their website and buy it directly. I think they're going to force me to go to you know Walmart, Amazon, Whole
Grocery store.
Foods. I
Yeah.
think that's how it works. I'm pretty sure. I honestly don't know, but I think that in general, that one-off item is generally speaking going to be more effective for me to buy it in store. And it goes like you just look at even some even if you look at other commodities, right? Let's just say a plain white t-shirt, right, that you can get at all the off-price retailers. Some of these off-price retailers don't have a significant or any presence online, even though they
Right.
might be selling a commodity-driven item. Right? I wouldn't consider a plain white t-shirt a fashion-oriented item. I think that's a commodity-driven item.
Hmm.
Most of the time, there's probably some brands out there that are trying to make it fashion-oriented, but some of those brands that sell that item don't even have an online presence because the average ticket is so inexpensive that they can't make money on it online.
Right. Doesn't pay to ship that.
Yeah.
And most consumers are looking for free shipping, and then it really doesn't work. I'm wondering over time how many retailers will do a dual pricing model where the same item at the same retailer is a different price online versus in store, not discussing shipping costs, right? Just the actual cost of the item. I'm sure that's already the case, but when we shop items as consumers, how many people shop different stores, lots, right? Online, you're comparing it in different places, but do you shop that same item in store versus online? I would think probably not that frequently.
I
So
think
that would be
grocery is the most
comparison.
is the easiest. I think it's the most regular purchase, and I
Right.
think that it's you can many grocers you can see price discrepancies between online and in store if you order this what it is,
Mhm.
and so I think that's happening now.
It's just
I
a
think
great
that's
way to,
happening.
right, keep driving consumers to the stores if more retailers do it that way. So not only, right, is it more efficient, you get what you want, you have all these other benefits, but it's less expensive to go in the store and you can still shop at your preferred retailer
Yep.
wherever you like to buy it.
Yep.
So I think we have completely and entirely answered my question of why Batteries Plus is expanding into physical retail when you can get batteries shipped to you very easily. So thank you. Thank you for concluding that burning question I had and reading that headline. No, but in all seriousness, I think these are really interesting angles, because we do have conversations a lot. I do with investors on certain tenant categories, and they're concerned about the viability long term of those categories because of online competition and the commodity nature of some of these products. But I think when you tie it all together with all these different benefits, like you just did, the pricing differential, the convenience, the element of discovery, the educational and service element, there's really a lot to it. And it's not going to just be convenience that's driving purchase decisions.
Our CEO quoted for saying, "You can't make money with the clicks without the bricks," and I think
Catchy.
I think that's a good point. And the I think, and he said something like, where in COVID people thought like online was going to kill physical retail. Instead, I think physical retail saved online. He said something like that,
Yep, I love that.
and yeah, and I think we're seeing the fruits of that today with the significant amount of total retail sales that are done in store versus online.
And an increasing number per square foot. So that
Yeah.
continues to rise, which I love.
Yeah.
All right. That's a
All right.
wrap.
Awesome.
To everyone listening, that was this episode of What's in Store. We're so happy you tuned in, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks, Chris.